Hello, everybody. Welcome to ZanZanA Metal Interview. My guest today is Sal Abruscato. Hi, Sal.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Good. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for accepting this interview. A pale horse named Death. Here is it. The album is due on 24th September this month. Fourth album for A Pale Horse Named Death, Infernum In Terra. How does it feel when a new album is going to be on the market?
Exciting. I
Yeah,
always consider it a blessing every time I get to put out a new record because I never know. You put out a record, you never know when you're going to do another one. You don't know what life has in store. Life is always changing. And I consider it always a beautiful event when you have a new album that you were able to create a collection of songs, release them to the fans. So I feel very honored and always privileged that SPV Long Branch, they like what I do, they enjoy what I do, and they are my biggest supporters. And the fans, I always love to make them happy as well because sometimes fans have to wait many years, for their bands to put out records. But I wanted to be a little bit. I had a lot of ideas, and I wanted to get this album out, and I'm really pleased with the results. I'm so happy with how everything has turned out. It's probably one of my favorite albums at the moment. It's I got to get out what I wanted to, what I had in my mind.
yeah. There was three singles, three clips that went out on YouTube for people that to help to know a little bit about this album. Shards of Glass, Believe in Something, Your Loss, and Reflections of the Dead. 11 songs in this album. You said that it represents for you a new beginning. How is it?
Well, the new beginning was this album. I usually would always have like a partner when I would do a record in the production and engineering aspect. This album I did entirely myself. I produced, I engineered it, I mixed the album, I recorded the album. Also, being a multi-instrumentalist, like the other albums, the pandemic did not affect me because I play all the instruments pretty much, with the exception of the guitar solos. So, also, the new beginning was just to have a different approach. Not really a different approach, but I brought in more piano. I did more orchestrated. Orchestra bells, tubular bells I brought in, which I kind of fell in love with, and they kind of exist in almost every song in a very low volume. Also, I didn't want. I tried to think about not making every song about depression and woe is me, sad stuff or suicidal stuff. I kind of touched on some other biblical topics. I wanted it to go in that direction from when I finished the last album. I was already thinking about going in this direction. Definitely a little bit more doomier. There's no fast songs, so I'm really happy with it. Plus, we had a new artist on this album, which gives a nice new fresh appearance for the album and the band. I think the album cover, which is hand drawn, is incredibly well done by an artist named Kelvin Doran from Serpent Tusk Studios. So there's a couple of new things that happened with this record that gives a fresh attitude and approach and presentation.
What does represent the album cover of this album?
I'll be honest with you, it was the artist sketched this album cover. When I gave him the title Infernum In Terra, and I explained to him what it meant, this is the vision he saw after thinking about the title. He came back to me a week later with a very rough hand-drawn black and white sketch of this biblical figure, but from a dark side, or from a demonic world, kind of arriving like, you know, this prophet, this cardinal, this bishop, this pope, and you see the villagers, you know, or the apostles around him. Some are afraid of it, some are enthralled by it or enamored by it, and it just depicts this scene of the arrival of something from hell, you know. And so that's what the layout consists of. And when I saw the sketch, I was like, wow. I said, at first I wasn't a little bit sure, but then it grew on me, and I said, you know what, this is going to be amazing, because then he was sending me the renditions of it as he was progressing. And I'm just so pleased with it, because I started, even though I did give the opportunity to the previous artist that did the first 3 albums, if he wanted to do the 4th album, they respectfully declined. They wanted to move on. And I was like, okay, fine. And sometimes things happen for a reason in the world and universe. And so meeting this new artist and having a fresh approach and a fresh attitude really opened up a whole new universe for the band's image. And for me, the cover just means something it's very involved. There's a lot going on. And it just depicts, you know, just like the title translated means hell on earth, and that's the arrival of this being. So he arrives, and there's these villagers and people surrounding him, afraid or enamored by it, wondering, who is this, what is this, or I'm afraid of it. And I think it's a very, very interesting album cover, and a little bit outside of the normal thing that bands usually do.
Yeah. The title Infernum in Terra, was it inspired by lockdown, pandemic, COVID-19, death?
It was inspired by 2 things. One, you're right, but the first thing it was inspired by was the fact that we were approaching the 10-year anniversary of A Pale Horse Named Death's first album, And Hell Will Follow Me. So we were approaching the 10-year anniversary. So I was like, well, to commemorate it, I think I should have the word hell somewhere on this record. And at the same time, when I started sketching and working and thinking about ideas for this record, it was January 2020. So then as we were approaching, you know, here in New York, we got locked down March 17th, 2020. And so I'm watching these events unfold on the news of, you know, especially when it started getting really bad in Italy at first. And then it started in New York with a lot of elderly people passing away, a lot of people being told to stay home and they cannot go to work. A lot of children, including my own children, being kept home from school. And just a lot of worry and concern for everybody that was afraid of catching this virus. It seemed like to me that between death and financial crisis, everyone was going through some form of their own hell on earth. So it seemed to me very appropriate that was the title that it should have needed to be. And at the same time, though, I felt if you call the record Hell on Earth, it's very predictable, very easy name. Doesn't sound really intelligent. You know, a 10-year-old kid could come up with that idea. So I felt, well, I still want to keep this title though. So I started exploring the options, and I started doing various translations. So of course, you know, Latin being a very classic, you know, original language for many languages, and very biblical in a sense, aside from the Aramaic language, which is what Jesus spoke. I translated it into Latin, and when I saw the title before my eyes, Infernum In Terra, I thought it was so interesting, so beautifully laid out, the way the letters lay out, that it also created a lot of curiosity, because maybe people that might not be aware of the language, or they'd be like, what does that mean, you know? And then when they translate it, it's like, oh wow, hell on earth. So I felt it would call out to a lot of Europeans, because of course a lot of European languages are derived from Latin, and
Yeah.
I felt that they would probably catch on a little quicker than Americans. But again, it here as well, so many people love the title and think it's so original. So I kind of went. That's what I went with. I said, well, here I am. I'm calling the record "Hell on Earth," but it's in Latin. It's still commemorating the 10-year anniversary of "And Hell Will Follow Me." So I really got everything I wanted to get out of coming up with that title. And the way it looks on the cover and the way it's spelled out looks very beautiful to me.
Yeah. um, when uh, when I go to see the video clips on YouTube, I went to see the comments, and the comments are like this. I swear this band can't make a bad song album, even if they tried. Keep it loud, keep it glooming, and thank you, Pillars Name Dead.
I think that's great. Yeah, I think I saw those as well.
Yeah. There's this badass. Can't wait to see you guys live again.
To see us live again. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't. I don't know. I don't know when that's going to happen, but at the moment it seems complicated. But I was actually really pleased with all the beautiful comments from all the people that like the band. When you release a new song or a video, you kind of worry about the worst thing an artist can experience is rejection. So I was very interested in seeing what people thought of this music and record. So it's always a little bit nerve-wracking, always a little concerning. Like, okay, I hope everybody likes it. I know I like it. My wife likes it. Okay, I know I'm doing it. I know I'm on the right track. But the fans always tell the end result. They always say the truth. And I had a lot of fans write and comment on the YouTube or on our Facebook or Instagram saying that this is probably one of the best records so far, or which I think they're all great in their own way. But one of the reasons why I wanted to make this record the way I did was because the previous record I was a little dissatisfied with the production and the sound, so I needed to get that much better because I was working with someone else. And but I'm really happy that people are liking the songs. I did again have a couple of different approaches on some songs. So far so good. I mean, look, I'm not a spring chicken, so I don't really know all the new bands and music that the kids are into. I just do what I like. I do what I do, which is very retro and very old sounding to many people, but that's where I'm from. So to be able to present this music that I enjoy making and people responding the way they do is always the ultimate reward. It's the ultimate satisfaction, and feeling this gratification and appreciation from the fans is what really makes me excited and feel like I did a good job.
Sal, there's another type of comments, like this one. Sounds like a doom metal version of Alice in Chains. I definitely hear some Alice in Chains influences in this tune. If Alice in Chains and Typo Negative had a love child, this would be those power slides, and the riffs are so typo, but the vocals are like Lane. Sounds like grunge Alice in Chains to me, but working class doom metal is better name for the genre. So, after all these years, being compared to Alice in Chains and Lane, how do you accept it after all these years? How you react with this?
I accept any good compliment. To me, it's a massive compliment. It's very flattering. I don't try to do anything like anyone or sound like anyone. It just comes out the way it comes out. But I'll be honest with you. So I'd rather be compared to Alice in Chains and Lane Staley than to be compared to someone that's not good. So for me, it's a flattering compliment. These people are amazing legends. They are from that generation that I'm from. We're all like in the same age group, and so the late '80s, early '90s grunge, I really liked when it started on the West Coast in Seattle. So, aside from being into a lot of old '70s music, I did like a lot of the grunge stuff going on. I thought it was great because they were combining good melody with heavy guitar tones, which is what I like to do. So for me, it's a beautiful compliment. Like I said, it's better. I'd rather have that. Basically, I'm being compared to a legendary singer that's passed away. So to me, that's a great compliment. It's better than being like, hey, well, he sounds like dog shit. You know. I'd rather them say he sounds like Lane Staley here and there than to say, well, he sounds like dog shit. So for me, it's fine. I take it. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. They're gonna always try to compare a band or music to somebody because that's all they have. So as long as it's not being compared to something bad or negative, I accept it all as a flattering compliment.
Yeah. Sal, where does all this dark come from? Because when I see you, when I talk with you, I don't see someone who's very, in a dark mood, depressive mood. For where comes this music?
It's just inside. Um, I'm very blessed to have beautiful family, beautiful children, and a beautiful wife, and I have a lot of great things going on in my life. But at the same time, I have such a deep black hole deep inside me that on the outside, I can be funny and be seen like I'm normal, I guess, or I don't have these problems or issues. But deep in my mind and inside, for some reason, it's there, and it comes out safely through my music and my lyrics. I think if I didn't do that, I don't know what else I'd be doing. It's kind of like look at the comedian Robin Williams. He made people laugh. He made millions of people laugh. He was always smiling on the outside. Nobody suspected that he was a manic depressant and was suicidal until he took his own life. So I think real people that have these issues and problems and that have like this type of maybe darkness in them are not going to show it because it's not an act. When you have maybe somebody that's acting all dark, or maybe it's an act, they're showing it all the time, or I try to keep it hidden because I don't want to bring others around me too down, or I do have a dark sense of humor, which works in my favor at times, and I can say some pretty outrageous things. But I try to keep it under control, especially when I'm dealing with, public situations, or especially around my kids, and things like that. And for my wife too, because I don't need to drag her down in my bullshit. So I just keep it all deep down inside. I have bad dreams all the time, and I don't sleep well. So for me, these lyrics of these dark feelings, they just fall right out of me like it's nothing, like a normal. Like it takes me no effort to reveal this dark side, and maybe it's a curse, maybe it's a talent, but the music side of everything is what helps me, and what I enjoy doing with it.
Yeah. Speaking about this music that someone said it's doom. Um, New York You live in New York. Is New York a place for this kind of music? Is there a doom scene, metal scene in New York?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not part of any scene. I haven't even lived, I don't even live in New York City. I live in
yeah,
upstate for the last 11 years. I left the city a long time ago with my wife, and I don't know what kind of scene there is anymore. There was a scene back in the 90s, but things have changed very much. And I like I said, because I'm a lot older now, and I have a lot of responsibilities. I don't really have the time to be involved at these shows and see what's new, what's going on, and see what kind of scene there is. I just do what I do. I mean, I grew up listening to Black Sabbath, who was, in my eyes, they were the godfathers of doom. This type of darkness, right? This dark, slow music, and that's what influenced bands like Typo Negative. That's what influenced us as musicians. Uh, I just seem to have a real easy time creating this kind of music. I like creating it, and the slower the better. I think I may go even slower on the next one. And I don't know much of a doom scene, but I'll tell you, I'll make my own scene and I'll make my own universe of this type of music without a problem. And who wants to follow, they can follow. New York is a very constantly changing city, and from generation to generation. And I don't know, I kind of think, you know, um, this rock is kind of dying a little bit over here. So I don't know what kind of scene there is. I just know that I make music, and they can call it what they want. They can call it heavy metal, hard rock, doom. I just make what I make, and that's what I do.
yeah. So, Infernum In Terra, this is the album, 21st September, out on the market. And will you defend this album? Will you make, are there some scenes, some tours, some concerts that are scheduled?
Maybe in the summer of 2022.
Yeah,
We'll see. There's so many restrictions. There's this pandemic. I think this pandemic has really hurt the business to the point where it's going to be different. I think from this point on, I don't know if we're going to have it the way it used to be so easily. And you see some bands, like I see some bands trying to tour now
yeah,
in the U.S. They're trying to do some stuff, but I also see bands canceling. I also see some bands getting sick. Um, Look at Kiss. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. They have the vaccination, and they still got sick. Um, you had Corey Taylor from Slipknot that did a couple of shows on his own, and he got sick right away. You have Limp Bizkit and Wednesday 13. They canceled their tours after trying it for a day because they're worried about getting everybody sick. I think you're really elevating the risk when you're going from city to city into venue to venue, hot, sweaty, no ventilation, different people every day. You're bound to catch something, I feel. And I'm vaccinated, and I got vaccinated to protect my family and to figured I needed to travel. But you also have a lot of restrictions with Europe right now saying we don't want Americans coming here. Rightfully so, right? Because we have an out of control situation here in America too. So you have a couple of challenges going on. Like there's nothing more than for me, I always loved coming to Europe. And even if it, just for a couple of weeks, I loved coming to Europe and play some shows for the fans. But we have a lot of changes that have happened in the last few years. One of them being Brexit, which has now created a situation that is very, very expensive, much more expensive for a band to come and tour the UK and mainland Europe. So we have that working against us. And then we have these COVID restrictions where, at the moment, some countries are requiring you to get a COVID test within 24 hours of your flight. And then you have to get another one when you land. Some countries are requiring you to quarantine. How are you going to arrive and go on tour if you got to quarantine for 2 weeks? So how are you going to afford to sit in a hotel for 2 weeks or 10 days and then go on tour? So financially, there seems to be many obstacles. And unfortunately, this pandemic has really changed the world in a way that we, all those beautiful freedoms that we had of going to see any concert whenever we wanted or any festival whenever we wanted has I think it's been changed for a good or a long time. And I also have band members that are concerned about doing it. So now you have that other issue of, can you get 4 or 5 musicians to be on the same page and feel comfortable going to play a show? This is the problem, and you have to respect everybody's opinions. If there's one guy in the band that's afraid, you can't do it then, because you have to respect their choice, that they're afraid of getting sick. And so I hope to come play some shows, maybe to the summer of 2022, maybe it's the summer of 2023. There's such a waiting list with bands that were canceled in 2020 and 2021 for festivals and shows that we also have no availability. There's not a lot of openings. So you may get a couple of shows in Germany, but to make the whole tour happen, there might not be no availabilities in France or in Switzerland or in Holland, and you can't make the tour work. And so if you can't make it work, then there's not enough money to pay for everything to do it. It's very complicated.
Yeah, very complicated. Maybe this is Infernum In Terra for musicians.
It is. Well, again, I think there's something tied in with these biblical titles, and it's kind of funny how the year before the pandemic, I released an album called "When the World Becomes Undone." Which is what happened a year later. The best option I can offer for everybody is that I've already started playing around with some new ideas, and I think staying productive and maybe making another record in the meantime and keeping busy with more music is the best thing I can offer the world. Because life is short, and eventually, I might get a little tired of doing this kind of stuff anyway. And plus, I have a family and a home, and I also do work to support my family. I don't just sit around. So I do a lot of things. So I think I was playing yesterday, and I recorded a few ideas over the last few weeks here and there. I think I have it in me where I already am excited to want to work on another transition, another idea of an album, and because for me that's the best thing, the best results, and it's something I can create that I could still give to everybody in the world, like I did just now with this album.
Art for art.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's is it art for art? Is this the real artist state of mind?
I think so. Any real artist is going to want to continue to create. Most famous painters create late in their life and don't stop until they die, and that's when their work becomes famous, right? So, I if I can do it and I can pull it off, I want to keep whenever I can fit the time in, because I have the studio is in my house, and so I make music, I'll make records, I'll put down these dark lyrics and give fans a continuation. I like to see, 5, 6, 7 albums by A Pale Horse Named Death, because really A Pale Horse Named Death has been my concept and baby since 2009, and that's why I do things the way I do them, because I don't want anyone to ever stop me or interfere with my progress. Sometimes when you have a big collaborative effort in a band, then you start having problems with other members, and then things change, or they prevent you from progressing further into a new idea or dimension of music and being and experimenting. So I don't like that. This band, I created it. It was a studio project originally, and I never thought I'd be playing live, but then I put a live band together and started playing live. So, and it became a very good live band. So they're two separate things. Live is a live band, and then there's the album recording side of A Pale Horse Named Death. That at the moment it doesn't look like that will be stopping. Even though we have the pandemic and we can't play live, I know I could still make music.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Sal. It was a very big pleasure talking with you. Remember this, Infernum In Terra, Pale Horse Named Death. You got some, and I hope it's going to be, you're going to reach to new fans with this album.
I hope so. Yeah, that's the point, is also to maybe attract some different fans along with the original fans, and let the name and the music grow. Hope to reach people all around the world that are sometimes battling these dark feelings too, which helps them maybe cope with certain subjects and not do anything terrible to themselves.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much, Sal. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
ZanZanA, l'émission métal.